Stand still. No intro. Begin mid-thought. Picture this. You wrap your arms around your dog. They go completely still, not relaxed. Still. That specific kind of stillness that has weight to it, like the air in a room right before something goes wrong. You can feel their body not soften into you. You can feel it set. And right there, if you know what you're looking at, there's a very specific thing happening in their nervous system that most people will never notice, because they're too busy thinking their dog loves this. Look at the eye, not the general expression, the eye. That hard, unblinking stare going sideways. Or worse, the white showing at the edge. Whale eye, that's the term. Whale eye is not a cute quirk. It's an avoidance signal. It means your dog is choosing not to look at the thing that's threatening them, which right now is you, because direct eye contact might escalate whatever this is. The posture is rigid, tail frozen or tucked, jaw slightly tight. The clicking of nails on the floor stops because the feet aren't moving. Nothing is moving. This isn't your dog enjoying the moment. This is your dog enduring it. And here's the thing I'm going to come back to at the end. There's a specific thing your dog does the second you let go. Most people have seen it. Most people have completely misread it. We'll get there. Slow exhale. Look directly at camera. The near universal assumption is this: if my dog doesn't walk away, my dog is fine with this. That's the entire logic. And it's wrong. But you can't blame people for it, because social media has made this dramatically worse. There are millions of videos. Dog being hugged by owner. Dog sitting completely stiff. Caption says, "He's such a cuddler." Tens of thousands of likes. And if you actually watch those dogs, really watch the body, most of them are visibly stressed. But the framing is wholesome, so nobody looks. The quiet part of this is the guilt that hits when you start recognizing these signals for the first time, because you realize you may have been misreading your dog for years, not out of cruelty, out of a completely understandable assumption about what affection looks like. Dogs are not primates. That sounds obvious, but follow the implication. In canine body language, physical restraint, being held, being pinned, being unable to move away, is a dominant signal or a threat signal. It is not affection. The body doesn't process it as affection. Stanley Karen at the University of British Columbia analyzed 250 photographs of people hugging their dogs. Over 80% of those dogs showed at least one clear stress indicator. That's not a fringe finding. That's the majority of the sample. Now, the reflex explanation here is to call this a dominance issue, that the dog feels overpowered. It's a dominance thing. Actually, wait. Dominance theory in dogs has been largely dismantled. That's not the mechanism. What it actually comes down to is loss of escape option. The dog cannot move away. That single variable, the inability to choose distance, is what triggers the stress response, not the relationship, not even the person. The restraint itself is the problem. Hold up one finger. Speak slowly. This is not instant. It's a sequence. The moment restraint begins, the sympathetic nervous system activates. Within seconds, not minutes, seconds, cortisol begins rising, heart rate increases. Research from the University of Helsinki on canine stress indicators documents the behavior escalation that typically follows: first stillness, then a lip lick, then a yawn, then a hard look away. Most people see those signals and think their dog is just tired or distracted. They're not. Those are rungs on a distress ladder. Each one is the dog communicating and not being heard. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. Some dogs stop resisting not because they enjoy being hugged, but because they've learned that resistance doesn't work. They pulled away once and got confused owners. They growled once and got corrected, so over time the behavior gets suppressed. The body goes limp. People read that as acceptance. It is not acceptance. That's resignation. That's learned helplessness. A documented response where the animal stops trying to change an outcome because prior attempts produced nothing. A limp dog in your arms is not a relaxed dog. It's a dog that has given up communicating. Let that land. So what does a genuinely relaxed dog actually look like during physical contact? Soft eyes, loose jaw, body that naturally leans into the contact unprompted, not because it's being held there. tail wagging from the base, not just the tip. The entire posture is fluid. Compare that to a stressed dog mid-hug. Tense jaw, hard stare or gaze completely averted, tail tucked or locked in place, ears pinned back or rigidly forward. These are not subtle differences. They're opposite states. Most owners have never been taught to read them, and that's not a character flaw, but it does matter. This brings up operant conditioning, which sounds clinical, but it's actually very simple. Dogs learn through consequence. Your dog pulled away from a hug once, and you followed them, held tighter, made a disappointed face. That was a consequence. Over enough repetitions, they learned that pulling away doesn't end the situation. It might make it worse. So the behavior got extinguished. This is especially visible in breeds that are socially conditioned to suppress stress signals. Golden retrievers are constantly held up as the gold standard of hug-tolerant dogs. But a lot of that tolerance is trained, compliance, not genuine comfort. A Malinois, by contrast, will tell you exactly and immediately how it feels about being restrained. Neither response is better or worse. One is just harder to misread. Deadpan into camera. And here's the counter-argument I know is coming. But he chooses to come to me. He leans on me. He follows me everywhere. Yes, all of that is real. Proximity is real. Attachment is real. But proximity is not the same as restraint tolerance. A dog choosing to lean against your leg is in a completely different psychological state than a dog being wrapped in arms with no exit. The choice is the entire variable. Remove the choice, and you have fundamentally changed the experience. Even if nothing else changed, the dog is the same, the person is the same, the room is the same, but the moment the exit disappears, the nervous system responds differently. Now, the part about owner behavior that nobody wants to hear. How you hug your dog shapes how your dog's stress response develops over time. Owners who habitually hug during anxious moments, wrapping their arms around a trembling dog at the vet, holding them during fireworks, restraining them while saying, it's okay," in a tense voice, are not soothing the dog. They're associating restraint with the exact moments the dog is already overwhelmed. The research on inadvertent reinforcement of fear responses in veterinary behavioral science is well documented. The intention is comfort. The physiologically outcome is often the opposite. Look slightly off camera, then back. The textbook says to create positive associations with handling. Great advice. Extremely useful when your dog is in full shutdown at the vet, cortisol through the roof, refusing to make eye contact with anything in the room. The clinical framing makes it sound like a smooth, gradual process. The reality is messier, and it starts with acknowledging that what you thought was comforting may have been compounding. I could go into the full neurochemistry of perceived agency here, but simply put, dogs are agency-driven animals. Research in canine cognitive science consistently shows that the perception of control significantly affects stress levels. A dog that can choose to leave, but stays, is in a fundamentally different psychological state than a dog that cannot leave. Control isn't about dominance. It's about safety. When your dog feels like they have a choice, the entire interaction changes, even if they make the same choice they always would have made anyway. On the neurochemical side, yes, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, does rise in dogs during positive physical contact. But the operative word is positive. Research from Linköping University in Sweden found that oxytocin increases reliably during voluntary interaction, particularly eye contact and gentle petting. Restraint-based contact doesn't produce the same result. Cortisol frequently overrides it. The neurochemistry doesn't lie, even when the Instagram caption does. Sit down on the floor. Demonstrate being at dog level. So what does actual affection look like in practice, in your living room, with your dog? Start on the floor. Let them come to you. If they lean in, chest rubs and slow strokes along the side are generally well received. If they stay, great. If they drift away after a few seconds, that's not rejection. That's information. The most useful thing you can do is the consent test. Mid-pet, stop completely. Does your dog nudge you to continue? Push their head towards your hand? That nudge is real affection. Voluntary, initiated by them, unprompted. Hold up, a treat. Pause. Let the dog choose whether to engage. That moment of choice, that's what you're looking for. And yes, some dogs do tolerate brief hugs without significant stress. Know your dog specifically. Watch the body, not the relationship narrative in your head. Return to steady eye contact with camera. Earlier I said there's something your dog does right after you let go. Here it is. That full body shake. The one that looks like they just got out of a pool. You've seen it. You probably thought it was nothing. That is a documented stress reset behavior. A physical discharge of accumulated tension referenced across multiple canine behavioral studies. The dog's nervous system is literally shaking off what just happened. Not because they dislike you, but because the body needs to regulate after a period of restraint-induced arousal. That shake is not nothing. That shake is the whole story. So here's the reframe. When your dog tolerates a hug, that behavior isn't affection, it's compliance. Real affection from a dog looks like choice. It looks like approach. It looks like staying when they could leave. Everything else is your dog being patient with you, which, honestly, says a lot about them. Look directly into camera. Your assignment: next time you go to hug your dog, stop. Before you make contact, watch what their body does the moment they see your arms coming. That tells you everything. Comment below what you notice. And if this changed how you're reading your dog, drop it in the comments. I want to know what you saw. Subscribe, because the next video is about what your dog actually wants from you, and it's not what most people assume.